Introduction. People reveal more about themselves when they describe you than when they describe themselves. There is something strangely revealing about the way people talk about another person's appearance. A simple comment about someone's face, style, presence, or the way they carry themselves can quickly turn into a full investigation. Suddenly, everybody has an opinion. Someone notices the way you dress. Someone else analyzes your expression. Another person remembers how you looked months ago and insists that something has changed. And before you know it, your appearance has become a topic of conversation you were never even present for. Here is the fascinating part. Research in social psychology has consistently shown that people form impressions of others extremely quickly, often within fractions of a second. But those first impressions are not pure measurements of attractiveness. They are mixed with expectations, personal preferences, experiences, stereotypes, and even the observer's own self-image. In other words, when somebody looks at you, they are not simply seeing you. They are also bringing themselves into the room. And that is where things get interesting. Because sometimes the comments about your looks have very little to do with whether you are conventionally attractive. They are about what your appearance seems to communicate: confidence, change, independence, mystery, discipline, individuality. Maybe you started presenting yourself differently. Maybe you stopped trying to please everybody. Maybe your style finally started matching the person you were becoming. Or maybe nothing dramatic changed at all, and people simply started noticing what had been there the entire time. But there is another side nobody likes admitting. Not every person talking about your appearance is complimenting you. Not every criticism is jealousy either. Some people are genuinely impressed. Some are curious. Some are comparing. Some are trying to understand you. And some are desperately trying to fit you into a story they created about you long before they actually knew you. That is why this gets deeper than "they think you look good." Because the most revealing thing may not be what they said about your looks. It may be why they felt the need to say it at all. And once you understand the psychology behind these reactions, some of the conversations happening around you start making a lot more sense. You may even realize that the thing people keep discussing is not the feature you thought it was. So stay with me, because we are going beneath the compliments, the criticism, the awkward observations, and those suspiciously detailed "I'm just saying" comments. We are going to uncover what people may really be saying when they talk about your appearance. And some of these reasons are going to hit much closer to home than you expect. Number 1. Your appearance exposes what people try to hide about themselves. Here is the uncomfortable truth. People do not always react to your appearance because of what they see in you. Sometimes they react because of what seeing you makes them feel about themselves. Your confidence can remind someone of their insecurity. Your individuality can make someone aware of how much they depend on approval. Even the way you dress can quietly challenge someone who has spent years trying to fit into whatever everyone else considers acceptable. You may simply be going about your day, while somebody else is having a private comparison they never planned to have. And that is why certain reactions seem strangely intense. Someone may compliment you excessively, criticize tiny details, or suddenly become interested in analyzing your appearance with other people. They may not even understand why they are doing it. Human beings naturally compare themselves with others, especially when someone appears to possess a quality they personally value. The conversation then becomes less about your appearance and more about the uncomfortable feeling it triggered. The brutally honest part is this: you cannot control what your presence reveals in other people. If your appearance makes someone question their own choices, that is their internal conversation. You do not have to shrink yourself to make that conversation easier for them. Sometimes people are not staring because something is wrong with you. They are staring because something about you made them notice themselves. Number 2, they are trying to figure out why you look better when you are not trying so hard. There is a strange kind of attractiveness that appears when someone stops performing for the room. You are no longer constantly checking whether your outfit is impressive enough, whether your expression looks perfect, or whether everyone approves. You simply look comfortable being yourself. And ironically, that can make people notice you even more. The reason is simple. Effort can be copied, but ease is much harder to fake. Someone can copy a hairstyle, follow a trend, buy expensive clothes, or recreate a popular look. But genuine comfort in your own identity cannot be purchased from a shop. It shows up in small things, the way you stand, the way you move, the choices you make, and how little you seem to need permission for them. That is often what people are actually reacting to. They may say, "You look different," without being able to explain why. They may focus on your clothes when the real difference is your confidence. They may compliment one feature while completely missing the bigger change. And here is the funny part. The harder someone tries to manufacture that effortless quality, the less effortless it becomes. Sometimes the most noticeable transformation happens when you stop trying to become someone worth noticing and start becoming someone who feels natural to yourself. That is when your appearance stops looking like a performance and starts looking like an identity. Number 3, your look has become a social puzzle they think they can solve. When people cannot immediately explain why someone stands out, they often start investigating. Not literally with a detective board and red string, thankfully, but through conversations, observations, comparisons, and those casual comments that somehow become very detailed. Your appearance may contain several things that people notice at once: your style, expression, grooming, posture, or the way you carry yourself. None of these alone explains the reaction, so people start trying to identify the secret ingredient. One person blames your clothes, another focuses on your face. Someone else insists it is your confidence. Before long, everyone has a theory. The interesting part is that people usually want simple answers. They want to put things into categories: attractive, intimidating, elegant, unusual, approachable, fashionable. But some appearances refuse to fit neatly into one box. That uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity makes people look again. Sometimes they are not even consciously trying to judge you. Their brains are simply trying to make sense of something that does not match their usual expectations. If your style is different, your energy does not match your appearance, or your personality contradicts the first impression people form, you become harder to categorize. That is when ordinary observation can turn into conversation. The deeper truth is that people often talk most about what they cannot quickly explain. So if they keep trying to figure out what makes your appearance memorable, the mystery itself may be what keeps you on their minds. Number 4, some compliments are actually admissions of defeat. Sometimes a compliment is not simply praise, it is a quiet correction. Someone may have formed an opinion about you long before they really noticed you. Perhaps they underestimated your presence, dismissed your style, or assumed you were ordinary. Then something changed, not necessarily your appearance itself, but the way they finally perceived it. Suddenly, they are saying things like, "You actually look really good," or "I never noticed that about you before." That little word actually can carry an entire history. It can reveal that their previous judgment was wrong. People do not always enjoy admitting they misread someone. So instead of saying, "I completely underestimated you," they soften the confession into a compliment. They praise your appearance while quietly rewriting the opinion they once held. This is especially interesting when the person sounds almost surprised by their own words. Their reaction can tell you more than the compliment itself. They may have expected one version of you and encountered another. And that is where the real power lies. You did not necessarily defeat them by becoming more attractive. You defeated their prediction. They had already decided what you were supposed to look like, how much attention you deserved, or how noticeable you could become. Then reality refused to cooperate with their assumption. So when someone suddenly starts praising what they once overlooked, listen carefully. Sometimes the compliment is not really saying, "You look good." It is quietly saying, "I was wrong about you." Number 5. They notice the details you have stopped obsessing over. The strange thing about seeing yourself every day is that familiarity can make you blind to what other people notice immediately. You may have stopped thinking about your hairstyle, the way you dress, your expressions, or the small habits that shape your appearance. To you, they are simply normal. To someone else, they can be the exact details that make you memorable. This is where people often misjudge their own appeal. They search for one dramatic feature while overlooking the little things working together. Maybe it is the way you smile when you are genuinely amused. Maybe it is your natural posture, your choice of clothes, the way you arrange your hair, or even the calm expression you carry when everyone else seems to be performing. You may barely register these details because you are used to them. Other people are not. And there is something powerful about that difference. The things you no longer obsess over may be the things someone else remembers hours later. They might not even be able to explain exactly why they remember you. Their brains simply stored a collection of small details that created a stronger impression than they expected. That is why chasing perfection can be such a trap. When you become obsessed with fixing every tiny detail, you can completely miss the natural combination that already makes your appearance distinctive. Sometimes what makes you memorable is precisely what you stopped noticing about yourself. Number 6. Your appearance contradicts the story. Someone already told about you. Sometimes people are not reacting to your appearance. They are reacting to the fact that your appearance does not fit the version of you they already created in their head. Once someone decides who you are, they tend to collect information that supports their story. If they have labeled you as ordinary, insecure, careless, or someone who needs approval, they expect your appearance to confirm it. Then you show up differently, and suddenly their neat little theory develops a crack. That is when the comments can become strangely personal. Instead of simply acknowledging the change, they may search for an explanation. You are trying too hard. You have changed. Who are you dressing for? Notice what is happening. They are no longer describing your appearance. They are defending an old opinion. This is one reason a simple change in your presentation can create an unexpectedly strong reaction. Your appearance has become evidence against a story someone was comfortable believing, and people do not always enjoy evidence that proves them wrong. The deeper lesson is that you should be careful about allowing other people's old descriptions of you to become your identity. Someone may still be interacting with the version of you they met years ago, while you have already moved beyond it. Let them update their understanding at their own pace. You do not need to keep looking like the person they expected just to make their story easier to maintain. Number 7. They are noticing the gap between your public image and your real energy. Sometimes your appearance gives people one expectation, and your actual presence completely changes it. That mismatch can be surprisingly memorable. Someone may expect you to be serious because of how you dress, then discover that you are warm and funny. Or they may expect you to be quiet because of your expression, only to realize that you have a strong personality once you speak. That contrast creates curiosity, because people naturally try to make their first impressions match what happens next. Your appearance is only the opening sentence. Your behavior becomes the rest of the story. This is why two people who look equally polished can leave completely different impressions. One may look impressive but feel distant. Another may have a simple appearance yet become unforgettable because of the way they communicate, laugh, listen, or carry themselves. And that difference is often what people end up discussing. They might start by talking about your clothes or face, but eventually the conversation becomes, "There is just something about them." That vague statement usually means they noticed something their eyes alone could not fully explain. The interesting part is that you may not even be aware of the contrast. You are simply being yourself. But other people experience the difference in real time. When your appearance suggests one thing and your personality delivers something unexpected, people remember the experience rather than just the image. That is when a look stops being merely attractive or interesting and becomes genuinely distinctive. Number 8, they are studying your evolution, not your face. People who have known you for a long time notice something strangers cannot: the history behind your appearance. They remember how you used to dress, how you carried yourself, what you seemed comfortable with, and even the version of yourself you were still trying to figure out. That is why someone may suddenly comment, "You look different," even when you cannot identify one dramatic change. They are not necessarily talking about your face. They are noticing the person behind it. Maybe your style has become more intentional. Maybe you stopped dressing to blend in. Maybe you became more comfortable expressing your personality. Perhaps your posture changed because you became more confident, or your expression became calmer because you stopped worrying so much about being accepted. Small changes can create a completely different impression when they happen together. And people who remember the old version of you can feel that difference immediately. This is where the conversation becomes interesting. They may describe it as a glow-up, but that explanation can be too shallow. What they are really witnessing may be a change in self-definition. Your outside presentation is beginning to reflect an internal shift. You did not simply become more noticeable. You became more recognizably yourself. That can surprise people who have mentally frozen you in an earlier chapter of your life. They are comparing who they remember with who they see now, trying to understand when the transition happened. Sometimes the biggest change in your appearance is not what you added. It is what you finally stopped hiding. Number 9, your style is giving people information you never verbally gave them. Before you say a single word, people have already started interpreting what they see. That does not mean their interpretation is always correct, but humans naturally use visual clues to form quick impressions. Your clothes, grooming, posture, and even the way you put things together can communicate choices without you deliberately sending a message. That is why people sometimes assume things about you simply from your appearance. A simple, neat style may be read as disciplined. A bold combination may be seen as confident or creative. A deliberately understated look might suggest that you do not care about following every trend. None of these conclusions is guaranteed to be true, but people make them anyway. And here is where things get interesting. Your appearance can reveal your priorities without revealing your private life. Someone may notice that you consistently choose certain colors, certain silhouettes, or a particular way of presenting yourself. Eventually, those choices become associated with you. People begin recognizing your style before they even see your face clearly. That is when your appearance becomes more than decoration. It becomes part of your identity. The danger is assuming that every interpretation is accurate. People can project their own ideas onto what they see and confidently turn guesses into facts. So when someone talks about what your appearance supposedly says about you, remember that they are revealing their interpretation, not necessarily your truth. Your style can communicate something powerful without saying a word, but you still get to decide what that message actually means. Number 10, the real shock is that different people are seeing completely different versions of you. One person can look at you and think, they seem confident. Another can see the exact same person and think, they seem intimidating. Someone else may notice your style and call it elegant, while another person sees the same choices as unusual. The interesting part is that your appearance did not change. Their interpretation did. This is one of the most overlooked truths about being noticed. People do not see you through completely neutral eyes. They bring their experiences, preferences, insecurities, expectations, and personal definitions of attractiveness into the moment. So when people talk about your looks, they may actually be describing their own reaction to you. That explains why opinions can be wildly different. One person may admire the exact quality another person dislikes. One may find your quiet expression mysterious. Another may read it as distant. One may love your unconventional style. Someone else may not understand it at all. Neither reaction automatically tells you who you are. It tells you how differently humans interpret the same information. And there is something liberating about realizing this. You stop treating every opinion as a verdict. Compliments become compliments, criticism becomes criticism, and neither gets to become your identity. Your appearance can create an impression, but you cannot control the story every observer attaches to it. That is why trying to make everyone agree that you look good is an impossible game. You are not being viewed by one audience. You are being filtered through hundreds of different minds. Number 11, they keep talking. Because your appearance is difficult to reduce to one feature. Some people are remembered because of one obvious feature, but sometimes the reason someone stands out is much harder to explain. There is no single detail that people can point to and say, that is exactly why. Instead, several small things work together and create an impression that lingers. It might be your expression combined with your style. Your posture might change the way your clothes look. Your grooming, voice, movements, and personality might all contribute to the overall effect. None of these things has to be extraordinary on its own. Together, however, they create something people find difficult to summarize. That difficulty can keep the conversation going. Someone may say, there is just something about them, because they genuinely cannot identify one specific reason for their reaction. Another person may disagree and point to something completely different. Suddenly, the discussion becomes less about a particular feature and more about trying to solve the mystery. And here is the fascinating part. Sometimes, the absence of an obvious answer makes an impression stronger. People are naturally drawn to things they cannot quickly categorize. When there is no simple explanation, the mind keeps returning to it, looking for one. So if people struggle to explain why your appearance caught their attention, do not assume there must be some hidden flaw or secret formula. Sometimes the memorable part is the combination. You are not necessarily unforgettable because of one extraordinary feature. You may be unforgettable because everything about your presentation works together in a way people cannot easily put into words. Number 12, your looks may be receiving attention. Because your standards have changed, sometimes what people call a physical transformation is actually a change in the standards you have for yourself. You may have stopped choosing things simply because they are popular and started choosing what genuinely suits your personality. That shift can completely change how people perceive you. Maybe your clothes became more intentional. Maybe you became more consistent with grooming. Perhaps you learned which styles feel natural to you and stopped forcing yourself into looks that never really belonged to you. None of these changes has to be dramatic, but when several small choices become more deliberate, the overall impression can change significantly. That is why someone might suddenly say, "You look different," even though they cannot identify one major reason. They are noticing the result of many small decisions. And there is a deeper truth here. Confidence often changes presentation before it changes anything physical. When you become clearer about what you like and stop constantly seeking outside approval, your choices tend to look more settled. You are not desperately chasing attention. You are simply becoming more selective about how you present yourself. People notice that consistency. They may call it a glow-up because that is the easiest word available, but the real change can be much deeper. You have stopped dressing for an imaginary audience and started making choices that feel like yours. That is when appearance becomes convincing. Not because you discovered some secret formula for looking attractive, but because your presentation finally stopped arguing with your identity. Number 13. Some of the talk is not admiration or jealousy. It is simple human curiosity. Not every conversation about your appearance has a hidden motive. Sometimes people are simply curious. Human beings naturally notice what feels different, unexpected, or interesting, and appearance is one of the first things we process when meeting someone. That does not automatically make the observation deep, negative, or flattering. This matters because it is easy to turn every glance into a story. Someone looks at your outfit, and you assume they are jealous. Someone compliments your appearance, and you decide they must secretly admire you. Someone makes an awkward comment, and suddenly you have created an entire explanation for their behavior. Sometimes the truth is much less dramatic. They noticed something and were curious. That reality can actually be more interesting. Curiosity means your appearance gave their attention something worth processing, but it does not mean you have to attach a grand meaning to it. People notice unusual styling, memorable expressions, different combinations of colors, or a change in someone's usual presentation. Their brains simply register the difference. The mature response is to separate observation from interpretation. You can acknowledge that people notice you without becoming obsessed with why. Because the moment you start needing every reaction to mean something, you hand strangers too much control over your self-image. Compliments can inflate you, criticism can crush you, and ordinary curiosity can become a dramatic fantasy. Your appearance may attract attention, but attention itself is not proof of admiration, jealousy, or anything else. Sometimes people are simply noticing you and then getting on with their day. Number 14. The most powerful part of your appearance is the meaning you no longer need other people to give it. There comes a point when being noticed stops feeling like something you need to chase. You can appreciate looking good, enjoy your style, and take pride in how you present yourself without turning every reaction into a measurement of your worth. That is a powerful shift, because attention can become addictive. One compliment feels great, then you want another. One negative comment bothers you, and suddenly you are questioning everything. You start checking how people look at you, what they say, whether they noticed your outfit, and whether someone else looked better. Without realizing it, your appearance has become a scoreboard, and other people are holding the numbers. That is where you lose your freedom. The healthier position is to let your appearance be an expression of you rather than a request for approval. If people love your style, fine. If they do not understand it, fine. If someone compliments you, receive it graciously. If someone criticizes you unfairly, you do not have to rebuild yourself around their opinion. The deepest confidence is not believing everyone will find you attractive. It is knowing that their opinion does not determine your value. Once you understand that, the conversations around your appearance lose their power over you. You can enjoy being noticed without needing to be validated by being noticed. And ironically, that freedom often makes your presence feel even more natural. You stop performing for attention and start presenting yourself because it feels authentically yours. Conclusion. At the end of the day, people talking about your looks is rarely as simple as they think you look good. Sometimes they are reacting to confidence, sometimes curiosity, sometimes a change they did not expect. Sometimes they are comparing what they see with an old story they created about you, and sometimes, honestly, they are simply noticing you and trying to figure out why you caught their attention. But here is the part that matters most. Their reaction belongs to them. Your identity belongs to you. You do not need to become more attractive just to prove somebody wrong. You do not need to change your style because someone misunderstood it. You do not need to chase compliments, decode every glance, or turn every conversation into evidence of admiration or jealousy. Let people have their opinions. Your job is to become comfortable enough with yourself that praise does not make you arrogant and criticism does not make you disappear, because real confidence is not walking into a room knowing everybody will approve of you. It is walking into that room knowing you do not need everybody to. And maybe that is the biggest revelation of all. The most unforgettable thing about your appearance may not be your clothes, your face, your hairstyle, or any single physical feature. It may be the fact that you finally look like someone who is no longer asking permission to be themselves. So if this video made you look at the conversations around you a little differently, subscribe to the channel and become part of this community. Give this video a like if something here hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us which point stood out to you the most. And remember, people may talk about what they see, but you decide what it means.